over to tell you about a political drama coming out on Netflix. In this particular drama, which was about 2 hours, this drama was about two presidents, one that's currently serving in office, one that was an ex-president. And they had a political debate, and they had a whole bunch of political campaigns, and the campaigns got nasty. Even one of them, well, this happened. An attempted assassination of a former president. Then another president was having amnesia and couldn't even remember words.
President Harris's ability to beat Donald Trump if she were at the top of the ticket?
Look, I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she was not qualified to be president.
Then that president decided to do this.
President Biden has just announced that he is ending his re-election bid. Just moments ago, the president tweeted out, "It has been the greatest honor of my life to serve as your president. And while it has been my intention to seek re-election, I believe it is in the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down and to focus solely on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of my term. I will speak to the nation later this week in more detail about my decision." There are still so many questions yet to be decided and so little time before those questions need to be figured out. So I want to go right away to our chief Washington correspondent, John Carl. John, we are just 100 days out from the November election. Pressure was building on the president to step aside. Now he is announcing that he has.
Rachel, it's an extraordinary moment in American history. This is the first time we have seen a sitting president bow out of re-election since Lyndon Baines Johnson in 1968.
You would think it would be all fake, right? But it's not fake. It's actually real. And now Joe Biden is out and Kamala Harris is in. But does that guarantee Donald Trump the presidency? Or does it mean he will get the black vote? Now, to be fair, Donald Trump may not need the black vote to win, but definitely not having the black vote last time helped him lose. And this is today's conversation. Will blacks jump over to Donald Trump because Kamala Harris is in office? Now, to be fair, Kamala Harris is not a strong political candidate, not even for vice presidency. She kind of luckily got that. Nobody really takes Kamala Harris seriously as a president, and you shouldn't, especially if you're African American. But that doesn't mean that Donald Trump is out of the hot water. Now, why is that? Brother Mark Sill Dixon is a politician out of South Carolina, and he's super intelligent. He broke down the real issue why blacks will not just run to the Republican Party.
I even think they're comparable.
Let me say this, though. The truth of the matter is a large swath of America, I'll say even a majority of Americans, are tuned out of these spaces. So what we really have are Americans who are politically active, who are politically engaged, who go to their echo chambers. You got the echo chamber on the left and the echo chamber on the right. And let me tell you why sometimes it seems, but I'm telling y'all, it's a myth that Black Americans, by and large, are somehow represented well or adherents of the left. It's because spaces on the right, Malcolm X said that the white liberal have mastered the art of pretending to be the Negro's friend. So we don't get the blatant anti-blackness on the left. Oh, it's there. Look at our communities and look at who we've been voting for the past 60 years. That's the anti-blackness. But on the right, we get the baby mama, baby daddy stereotypes. We get the y'all have failed to pull yourselves up by your bootstraps. We get the fuck your reparations. We get all that nastiness coming from the right. So when you have Black people who are politically engaged, they're going to go to the side that just seems to be the less hostile, even though that side is actually even more hostile because they're supposed to be representing you with policies, but instead they just give you a symbolic representation, a few symbolic victories. They may give a Black person a job like Ketanji Jackson Brown. That's supposed to somehow lift off 55 million of us, do something for us, and it doesn't. So that's why sometimes we have this misconception that Black Americans, by and large, are lefties, which I'm telling y'all, if anyone actually is in Black
Marcel, we're conservatives at home, but Democrats at the ballot box.
Black
It's
Americans
been this way
largely
for a long time.
conservative. largely conservative. The problem is, and I've been to MAGA rallies, I've been to American Patriot rallies, and one thing I appreciate about those spaces are two things. One, they are willing to have intellectual discourse. When I mention reparations, they don't throw tomatoes on, walk out. They sit there and we have those conversations. Two, they acknowledge that the white right, white conservatives and the non-black conservatives, but even black conservatives, they have allowed bigots to feel too comfortable saying that they represent the white right or that they represent conservatism. There has been a unfortunate conflation of being conservative and being on the right with bigotry. And that is something that the right is going to have to address. Why bigots sometimes feel more comfortable being blatant bigots on the right. Now, me, I like my bigotry blatant. I like to see who you are. Show me who you are and I can deal with you accordingly. But that's where that misconception comes from. And that's why sometimes you go on these college campuses and you get these little boule.
Now, on one end, we all know that the Democratic Party dislikes the African American community already. I mean, we don't even need to be reminded of Joe Biden.
Take back the streets. It doesn't matter whether or not the person that is accosting your son or daughter or my son or daughter, my wife, your husband, my mother, your parents. It doesn't matter whether or not they were deprived as a youth. It doesn't matter or not whether or not they had no background that enabled them to have become socialized into the fabric of society. It doesn't matter whether or not they're the victims of society. The end result is they're about to knock my mother on the head with a lead pipe, shoot my sister, beat up my wife, take on my sons. So I don't want to ask what made them do this. They must be taken off the street. That's number one. There's a consensus on that. Unless we do something about that cadre of young people, tens of thousands of them, born out of wedlock, without parents, without supervision, without any structure, without any conscience developing, because they literally, I yield myself 3 more minutes, because they literally have not been socialized. They literally have not had an opportunity. We should focus on them now. If we don't, they will, or a portion of them will, become the predators 15 years from now.
That 1994 crime bill has put a hurting on the African American community. And Democrats are responsible for the conditions that we see in many of the black communities around the country. Black Chicago, Baltimore, DC, Philadelphia, Houston. All of these cities are suffering with lack of opportunities for African Americans, okay? And African Americans are still struggling in these cities. We all know that. But the reality is this: Republicans also have racial bigots attached to their platform. And they're not just white people, all right? We know about the alt-right and Richard Spencer. But you also have non-blacks who do the dirty bidding of racist Republicans. And these are people like the Andrew Tates of the world, Myron from Fresh and Fit. You have Sanico, okay? And then you have your whites like Just Pearly Things. All of these are big time influencers for Donald Trump. And if these racial bigots were not there, I think a lot of the blacks would vote for Trump. He has charisma. He might be a liar here and there, like every politician, but everybody lies. Bill Clinton lied. Joe Biden lies. Ronald Reagan lied. The thing is, Donald Trump and Republicans want to give blacks more than what Democrats do, and they're willing to have the conversation. But the issue is the blatant racism on the right. It is too hard to stomach. Now, I'm gonna give you an example of what I'm talking about. So this is Myron Gaines from Fresh and Fit. This is a Sudanese American guy who has a big problem with the African American community, also known as the Foundational Black American or #ADOS community. He writes, FBA equals frequently being all day. UPs were born in the greatest country in the world, speak English, get free education and endless government welfare programs, but want to cry about white supremacy. Again, these are traditional Republican talking points towards the black community. Let me be candid and tell you what everyone else outside the FBA community thinks, but will never say, because American blacks love to call everyone racist. You're lazy, ungrateful crybabies that be about everything when you have more opportunity than 90% of human beings on earth. Try coming from a war-torn country, not speaking English, with no money to your name, and making something out of the opportunities FBAs didn't take advantage of because the man allegedly held you back. Shut up, stop crying, put in the work, and stop blaming others for your faults or lobbying the government to give you a handout your great-great-granddad is entitled to, not you. The victim mindset in the black community is literally a fast-growing cancer, and I'm the only one with the balls to call you lazy F's out. Now, if you go on this post on Twitter, which is right there on his page, it has 314,000 views, 2,800 likes, and you will see a lot of Caucasians commenting underneath this post. You see that particular tweet there written by Myron, a person who's attacking the African-American community. It's a lot of likes, a lot of retweets, and we would assume that a lot of those people are Caucasians, racist Caucasians, you would believe. And you don't see anybody on that Twitter post saying, hey bro, you're wrong. You shouldn't talk about the black community like that. You don't. You see a lot of people on the white right that actually agree with such sentiments, because the Republican Party have built their sentiments towards the African-American community based on those talking points, based on the fact that you should pull yourself up by the bootstraps. You know, you should work harder. You should do this, you know, a very paternalistic attitude towards the African-American community. So even if Republicans have more values aligned with blacks, it's a big turnoff. But let's switch gears and talk about Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris looks and behaves like an African-American. She's not, but she behaves like one. She went to Howard University and HBCU. She worked in the Bay Area. She has a white husband. She's a black woman. And she attaches herself to the African-American plight. But there is one big issue with Kamala Harris: reparations. You see, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris love giving everybody else in America their just due. Remember, your migrant crisis that you have right now is responsible because of Joe Biden's policy. You see, instead of trying to make amends with the African-American community, Joe Biden said, nah, we already got your vote. Let's get some more immigrants over here and you pay your taxes for them so they can replace you. And then when we talked about reparations, Kamala Harris had this to say.
So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No.
You see, Kamala Harris doesn't believe in reparations for blacks. Without even saying it, she still expects your vote. Barack Obama didn't believe in reparations for blacks. He still expects you to vote. And that's the real problem. Democrats will expect blacks to do their bidding for nothing. It's almost like taking care of a wife who won't sleep with you, paying the bills every month, and her telling you, you better not cheat on me. Even though she's doing nothing to appease the husband that's always faithful to her. And now, my final conclusion. Will Trump do enough to beat Kamala Harris? And should blacks vote for Trump? My answer is a resounding yes. Blacks should vote for Donald Trump. And I know that's hard to do, and people are going to get upset with me, but I'm telling you, yes. You're not going to get anything for voting for Kamala Harris. Right? And we're not politically organized enough to have our own party, at least not yet. But with Kamala Harris, you're going to get the same problems that you got with Joe Biden. Does Trump have racists in his camp? Yes. Are they blatant racists? Yes. Are they racial bigots who are not even black trying to be racist and wanting to be racist, and white racists have the folks doing their bidding for them? Yes. But who is more likely to give you what you need? Trump or Harris? Obviously it's Trump. All personal feelings aside about racist white Republicans, I'd rather deal with some of these guys who are racist, and not all of these people, right? But I'd rather deal with the racial bigotry of the right than to deal with the hatred of blacks from the left. I would hate to see the same community we've been struggling to get out of the last 60 years than to deal with another 4 years from Biden and Harris and whoever else, and then, just get a free concert for their vote, or having them play some Kendrick Lamar, They Ain't Like Us, to actually get some clout and to pretend to like the black community, or Joe Biden coming to a black household. Speaking of Joe Biden, want to know what the last thing he said about with the black vote and why he's losing traction with blacks? Listen to this.
And one thing does change. It's not an excuse, an explanation. I would ordinarily be going through black neighborhoods on the foot, working through the neighborhoods. I have a tradition. I close every campaign, no matter what campaign, going into the projects and going down the east side. And, hey, Joe, well, how you doing? Everybody, well, just because they're my friends, let them know I'm still there. We can't do that now. Not because of the black community, because it's too dangerous for me to be out walking unaccompanied.
That is despicable. So you can't go to the projects and talk to blacks as if all blacks live in the projects? I mean, this is what they think of us. Secretly, it just slips out. But the policies will never happen under Democratic parties. They are there to keep blacks down. So me, personally, I'm saying that blacks have a better shot voting for Donald Trump. Not telling you who you need to vote for, why you should vote for it. It's my honest opinion what I think blacks will get out of it. And for me, I'm voting for Trump and the Republicans. I cannot continue to love my community and assassinate my community by voting for Kamala Harris, somebody who clearly doesn't believe in the value of reparations after graduating from an institution that was set up for blacks who suffered due to segregation. If she doesn't understand that, nobody will. Guys, what do you think? It's your boy, Shady Jackson, back here with King Ganda, and I'm out.